What's your greatest, most satisfying I f***ing called it moment? Kept finding small cut-up straws in my grandma's bathroom. So many straws. I let my grandmother know that someone is using her bathroom to use drugs. She freaks out saying I'm accusing her of using drugs and that it's impossible. A year later, my uncle divorces his wife due to her cocaine addiction. Grandma says, well, Kay always stopped by in the afternoon to use the restroom, and then she would clean my whole house, and I just didn't think anything of it. My favorite story at Thanksgiving. Coworker made a very unethical behind closed doors deal with another company, and he was an agency resource, not even a full employee of my company. After months, I spoke up about something being fishy and concerns of pre-committing purchasing, etc. My apathetic boss ignores me, all while coworker secures a job at the other company to work on the project that he set up with my company. Fast forward a year later, now they are citing that project as a pre-commit for service. Wisdom never tasted so sour. Following a car with its left turn signal on for 2 miles. The driver kept slowing at side streets as if to make a left turn, but didn't actually turn. I looked over at my daughter and said, "Watch, they'll make a right turn." F***ing called it. Yes, they were still signaling left when they made the right turn. Probably too late, but I want to share this anyway. The last few months of my wife's pregnancy with my daughter, the little baby would regular as clockwork around 10:30 p.m. put her head against my wife's ribs and try to straighten her legs so she could headbutt her way out of my wife. Bam! Headbutt to the inside of your whatever. My wife would jump up cursing like a sailor every time. It was painful, but also hilarious, reliable, and I guess we knew she'd be an active little kid well before she was born. Cut to the evening of her birth. The doctor is telling us around 9 p.m. that things are going well, but he's going to go get dinner because he hasn't eaten and there's no way this kid is coming out before midnight. I look at my wife, look at the doc, and say, "Don't go far, the kid is going to deliver herself around 10:30 p.m. I promise you, you're just going to have to catch her." He laughed, told us he's been doing this a long time and he wasn't worried. 10:25, he's rushing in and barely gets his gloves and scrubs on before my daughter shoots herself out of mommy like a greased bullet. Direct quote from the doctor looking at me as he holds my little darling. Well, I guess even I can learn things still. I don't blame him at all. Who would believe parents about something like that? But that kid had done so many test runs on such a regular schedule, I knew there was no stopping her. And fair game. Getting headbutted daily for a month or whatever as a trade-off to having a very short and easy labor. There are worse deals. Another baby pregnancy story here. I was just being admitted to the hospital for delivery when they strapped the baby monitor on my stomach. Every time I would have a contraction at the hospital in labor, the baby's heart rate would go down. I knew something was wrong. I knew it. I started to cry and the doctor said that he would get meds for me soon and that he knew it hurt. I said, "No, there is something wrong." He didn't dismiss me, but he also didn't seem too concerned either. It wasn't until they broke my water and lost the baby's heartbeat for a few seconds and flipped me this way and that way that they took it seriously. It was a little dicey for a bit there, but everything turned out alright in the end. Probably not the only one, but I was watching Seven for the first time and my mom was eagerly watching me as I reacted to the movie. She lost her shit when I said, "Is that Kevin Spacey?" During the phone call scene. She couldn't believe I recognized his voice and figured out who it was before the big reveal. I'm obviously not the only one to have guessed, but it was satisfying watching her reaction. My husband is super medically fragile. He's had cancer twice and a bone marrow transplant in the last 9 years. A few years ago, he had surgery on his wrist, and I had a gut feeling he was brewing an infection despite being on antibiotics. His surgeon's office saw him and switched ABX. I contacted the cancer center because I knew it was going to become more. They blew me off and punted back to the surgeon's office. I knew this was beyond the surgeon's scope. I pitched a tantrumy fit and pretty much told them they were going to see him and I wasn't accepting no for an answer. The triage phone nurse was condescending and telling me it was probably nothing and could wait. We got to the clinic and the nurse there started looking around the incision site. She told me that she believed my gut and pushed to admit him. The CT showed a huge infection that landed him in the hospital for a week on potent IV antibiotics with another surgery to clean out the site. Adding on, he is followed by a PharmD in his BMT clinic as well as utilizes a pharmacy just for patients like him. It's not a retail pharmacy. He obviously has a lot of other issues too. And I'm just doing what a spouse is supposed to do. I'm no saint and sometimes I lose my temper both at him and the situation. If there's anything I can beg of you all, please check in on older relatives if they're hospitalized or in homes and double check that their meds are correct and their medical history is right. We're lucky enough that I'm not older or confused, and that I'm astute enough to keep up with his info. Hell, I've made a few stumbles along the way and I'm reasonably intelligent. I can see how easy it could be to mess things up if someone wasn't capable. In high school, my best friend's little sister, 16 at the time, brought home her new 18-year-old boyfriend from work to meet the family. I was over at the time and talked to him for a while because we were the same age. After meeting him, something was off. I got the impression that 1. He was much older than claiming, and 2. Had been in jail. I wound up saying something to my friend, who told his parents and sister. Long story short, the family freaked out on me for spreading rumors that weren't true, telling me to mind my own business, etc. 2 years later, the sister comes home from a date with him in tears. He finally came out and admitted to her that 1. He was 30, not the now 20 he was saying, and 2. He had spent 2 years in prison, but refused to say for what. I was very quick to point out to the family how I called this years earlier and was basically shamed out of their house. Edit. Rather than responding to everyone's comments, I figured it was easier to add an edit on a few things. 1. I'm really not sure how the family didn't immediately pick up he was a lot older. I can only venture to guess and would rather not speculate. Also, this was before the time of being able to Google someone and look up their records. 2. I'm still close with my friend and his family. There was a point later on when I got a, gee, maybe we should have listened to you. 3. I have no clue what he was in jail for. Still don't know. 4. For those who called me insensitive for pointing out I was right almost immediately, I was 20, had previously taken a lot of grief for calling this out, and it wasn't exactly let go quickly on their end. When a penny stock I bought around 3 cents per share blew up to over $3. My only regret is not buying a lot more shares. Edit. For those asking, here's my take based on my very limited experience with penny stocks. You can usually buy penny stocks through your typical broker. You must be particularly wary of penny stocks because they can be subject to the phenomenon of pump and dump. One or more people, likely those who have stake in whatever company is offering penny stock, hype it up and hope that people will buy. As the price creeps up, those stakeholders may decide to sell and thus reap the rewards, while those who naively assume going along is best will hold on to that stock with hopes that it will blow up. The number of penny stock failures I've invested in far outnumbers the successes. Like, I've bought hundreds of thousands of shares of stock less than 1 cent per share, and seen it basically become valueless as the stakeholders have presumably sold their stake before the per share price hits the toilet. It's extremely hit or miss, to say the least. I had a friend who bought $2,000 worth of a penny stock and share prices went up by a factor of 10. So he had $20,000 worth of this stock in less than 1 week. He called me up to basically brag about how smart he was for finding this great stock. I congratulated him and strongly advised him, multiple times, to cash out at least $2,000. I suggested $5,000. That would leave him with 3/4 or more of his original shares, and he would be playing with house money. If the stock continued shooting up, he would be filthy rich either way, but if the shares tanked in value, then at least he wouldn't be out any money. Not only did he not listen to me, he invested more and lost absolutely all of it. I found out later that all the money he invested, $10,000, was actually from a loan he had taken out to try his hand in the stock market. If I had known that, I would have been even more adamant about cashing out. Imagine paying off a $10,000 loan in a week and still having $10K in the bank. But I don't think he would have listened to me no matter what I said. Just a funny anecdote. In the midst of this, he gave his mom a birthday card that contained a single dollar bill, and he wrote inside, "This is the first of millions." My friend is an idiot.